Lesson 7, A Course in Miracles, I see only the past. What does this mean? I see only the past. I was thinking about this earlier. I was looking at a hat on a desk, and a jacket on a desk, and a pen on a desk. I see only the past. If it wasn't for the past, would I know what these things are? I suppose I wouldn't. If I was somehow transported to this reality as a newly existing being, as I am now, with zero memories of the past, would I understand what anything is? I suppose that's sort of how I think about this today. And again, in the past, I've read Lesson 7 probably quite a few times, and that's the nice thing about A Course in Miracles. It seems like as I read it, my understanding sort of changes. And also, new questions open up, and that's sort of why I like A Course in Miracles, part of why I like it, because it has an increasing depth of potential understanding. So like this pen, I see only the past. Again, if I was transported to this exact moment, the present now, the eternal now, with zero memories of the past, would I understand what this is and what it does? I assume I would not, but I can't really speak to that with certainty because I exist here in the eternal now with my memories from the past, which in one sense, the past doesn't exist now, but in the past existed, but now only the eternal now exists now. So Lesson 7, I see only the past. Now in my mind's eye, through my third eye, I can visualize the future, but even the future, like if I think of Lesson 101 from A Course in Miracles, God's will for me is perfect happiness. And suppose in the present eternal now, I would claim that I don't feel perfect happiness, even though it is God's will for me. But I can think in the future of a future that will be closer to perfect happiness, whether that's this or that or the other thing that would be different or new, whether it's self-driving cars or never-ending Saturdays or an earth full of abundance and inner and outer peace and ubiquitous, limitless peace on earth. I can think of the future, which doesn't exist now, but in the future will exist, and now will not exist. So I see only the past, but even when I think of the future and I visualize these things, again, I'm sort of referencing the past and the now to formulate the future. So A Course in Miracles does talk about miracle-mindedness and how once enough humans have miracle-mindedness, the eternal now will be more heaven-like, seems to be at least the implicit message within A Course in Miracles, because A Course in Miracles does state that heaven is here, heaven is now, there is no other time, there is no other place. So I see only the past. I suppose it's a good lesson to meditate on, but these are lessons. These are not final. This is not the final test, the test of truth, or the final judgment of the judgment of how one does on the test, perhaps the test of truth. But anyhow, that's sort of a play on words, but I believe that is also ideas from A Course in Miracles without going off too much on a tangent. So, again, Lesson 101, God's will for us is perfect happiness. A Course in Miracles says, I need do nothing, or you need do nothing, and I see only the past. So I suppose I'm thinking this sort of in terms of, God's will for me is perfect happiness. And if an hour from now, which doesn't exist now, but now won't exist in an hour, then if I'm not experiencing perfect happiness, my existence is not in line with God's will. So I need to do whatever in the eternal now to correct my error and accept the atonement for myself, I suppose. Accept the atonement for myself, because I believe that is the one responsibility of the miracle worker, to accept the atonement for oneself per A Course in Miracles. That's my understanding. So with that said, I hope we can all move towards Lesson 101 with God's will for us being perfect happiness. And I think that applies to all humans. And also, a universal theology is impossible. A Course in Miracles, I believe that's almost an exact quote. A universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is both possible and necessary. Again, I think that's almost an exact quote, which is also in the, I believe, the public domain version of A Course in Miracles. So, if we want to do God's will, we should be perfectly happy. And I guess to do that, well, we can either do nothing and let God take the steps, or other fellow humans, which, we're all of one mind. So in one sense, on one level, we're separate humans with separate minds, with separate brains. And on another level, we're all the same spirit, sort of inhabiting different manifestations within the mind of God. So with that said, again, that's levels, and don't confuse the levels. So yeah, I see only the past, and all there is the eternal now, and God's will for us is perfect happiness. So, what will that look like in the eternal now, which doesn't exist yet, when this eternal now does not exist? In an hour from now, or a month from now, or 5 years from now, how can we have the eternal now be in line with God's will for us being perfect happiness? So I suppose we need to, like the Miracle Worker's Prayer said, I do the Miracle Worker's Prayer on, in chapter 1 or 2, where it says, I'm here only to be truly helpful, or I'm here to be truly helpful. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. So sort of try to maybe be quiet. We need do nothing. And again, it doesn't say we should do nothing or we have to do nothing, but I need to do nothing. But we can do something. It doesn't say don't do something. So if you feel called through the Spirit to do something to make Lesson 101 more real, whether or not you only see the past, I suppose that's something to do. So I guess I'm meandering a bit, but that's my thoughts on Lesson 7. I think it's Lesson 7. I see only the past. Yeah. What do you think? Limitless peace and limitless blessings.